because I contain multitudes, I'm about to court trouble for this program, or at least for myself, as I introduce this topic.
We're
Okay.
going to talk Hitler.
Yeah, we're going to talk about Hitler. Item. The New York Times this morning has a story about how the Trump administration tolerates intolerance and gives jobs to people and says nice things about people who have said things that are offensive to many and objectively offensive. And they include in the story, in their kind of laundry list of look at all the horrible people associated with Trump, they literally include a picture and then a sentence about Elon Musk's salute. So they're back to saying, even though we can provide 1,000 photos of 1,000 Democrats doing this, they're about to do that. Okay, number one. Number two.
By the way, Mark, you just got clipped. Someone's going to send that around.
Exactly. Well, I did it off camera. Number two, when that story occurred, I came up with one of the greatest headlines ever in my newsletter, as far as I'm concerned. Okay, because like the great Mel Brooks, I think joking about Nazis is perfectly acceptable. I just do. Mel Brooks did it. The producers, go watch it. Here's my headline. There's all this controversy over the allegation that Musk had done a Nazi salute. I called it Führer. Okay, best headline I've ever wrote. Hilarious, but a joke about Nazis. Okay, now here's this guy, Paul LaGrazia, who in a chat thing with a bunch of people who warned him up here if the things are real, who warned him and said you don't want to be writing stuff like this. He made jokes about Nazis, as did these young Republicans a few days ago. That story, and now you have Mr. Platner, Democratic Senate candidate in Maine, with a tattoo which is widely described as also being a Nazi thing. So on the one hand, Dan, we should all be denouncing the Nazis. Least controversial statement possible. On the other hand, people joke about stuff. People do stuff. People say and do all sorts of things. And does that mean they should be not run for the Senate or lose their job, whatever? How do you feel about this stew of a debate about intolerance, tolerance, cancellation? How do you feel about all this?
I think the marketplace should make the determination. If people look, I think one of the things now about everyone's going to have a digital footprint. People text both in their personal lives and professionally. It used to be careful what you put in an email. Now it's be careful what you put on Instagram or a direct message or X or your text messages. Someone could screenshot it. The marketplace will make a judgment. If they think it's inappropriate, it's like with Trump. I mean, when he speaks and does stuff, some people are horrified and offended and say this is not what a leader should be. And other people say, I don't have a problem with this in a leader. We have elections and people decide. So I'm sure I see the chat, people have strong feelings. Some are joking about this, some are not. Let the marketplace decide.
I don't read the chat. What's the review for my Führer?
Some of it's in German, so I'm not sure what it says.
The original German. Sean, how do you feel about this? Because at a minimum, there are people who are upset with the Republican Party because you're not denouncing in no uncertain terms these types of things.
Well, first of all, I will say this just to be clear: the person who wrote that story in the New York Times, as much as I hate the New York Times, is even worse than the New York Times. I mean, what that person wrote was very typical for their style.
You're talking about Katie Rogers?
I didn't name a name. You did.
Well, I'm just asking. I'm just asking if that's the story you mean.
I'm not denying that that's the person.
Oh, you think she's more biased than most New York Times reporters?
Yeah, I mean, I think that she has a history of being very anti-conservative, very pro. Okay, so she's worse than you. If your standard New York Times is a 5, she's a 10.
They should get her an editor, maybe.
Well, how about just get her they should get rid of her. That being said, look, we talked about this example of the kids the other day. These younger Republicans.
They're not kids. They're adults.
I said younger Americans. They made and they've all, to my understanding, as they've gone through this, faced consequences. There is a difference between, and I can say this as somebody who's told a lot of jokes that have fallen flat or been completely taken, right? Joking about something and having it come off versus thinking something. So saying, that's very fill in the blank and stupid versus I believe that they're a good person. So expressing sympathy or admiring a brutal dictator is very different than trying to make a stupid joke. And the context does matter. To Dan's point out the marketplace, you need to be able to explain, was I joking? I have generally, advised people there are certain topics you stay away from. That's one of them. Or you face the peril of that. There's other violent acts that are never smart to engage in discussing because, again, they leave open to interpretation what you meant.
Do you think the world would be a better place if Hogan's Heroes was never made?
I was never a big fan growing. I mean, I don't know. I'm probably the wrong person to ask. I never liked it, but I don't know if that's just my
fantastic. Bob Crane's best work, I felt. It's a controversial view. All right, Platner. The boys from Pod Save America are standing by him. Bernie Sanders is staying by him.
I'm standing by him.
Somebody is dumping Oppo on this guy. So my question to you, Dan, if Platner called you and said, Dan, I'll give you $1 million, who's dropping all this Oppo? Is it Chuck Schumer? Is it Susan Collins? Who is dropping this Oppo? And I ask because here's what Jonathan Martin of the Politico reports this morning. You think it might be over. It's not. Jonathan Martin says about the Oppo on Platner, there's more to come. I'm told by sources very familiar with the Platner opposition file who spoke on the condition of anonymity. And some of it will be even more localized, which will make for ready-made targeted mail and digital ads from his opponent. Doesn't say which opponent. Doesn't say if that's former governor, what's her name, Mills?
Janet Mills.
Yeah, Janet Mills or Susan Collins. Martin writes, I've learned, for example, that in 2020, Platner went online and called the Hancock County Sheriff's Office a den of, quote, overweight pansies and flatly said, quote, cops are opportunistic cowards. Now, I have two questions, one for each of you. Sean, if you're an advisor to someone running for Senate who's never run for office before or not, shouldn't you do self-opposition research so they'd know about these things?
Absolutely.
Okay.
The challenge early in a campaign always is that it costs money.
Yeah.
And so when you want to do it, you have a in-person, like, let's go through some of these issues. You hope the candidate's straight with you. And then as you get a little bit of money in the door, then you hire a firm that says, go through and look at their digital footprint.
Right. One of Platner's top aides quit. But so far, Sanders is standing by him. The valuable Pod Save America brothers standing by him. Dan, who is dropping this Oppo on him? And I mean, well, you answered that. Then I got one more for Sean on this.
Sure.
I know who's not, by the way.
So first off, this is going to go down in the textbooks as one of the great political kill jobs that I've ever seen, just in terms of all of this. You look at the timing and the incentive. This started right after Janet Mills got in the race. I don't think it's her, but I believe that it is people who support her. Could be the folks on Maryland Avenue, or a lot of this stuff now, because it costs money, is outsourced to third-party groups that are in coordination with unofficially.
Maryland
campaign
Maryland Avenue is a DSCC Chuck Schumer, right?
Correct. And Kirsten Gillibrand.
Sean, here's my question to you. This maybe I should ask myself, because it's a question about journalistic ethics. To me, as big a story as this Platner Oppo is who's doing it. And Jonathan Martin and they've given it to 6 different news organizations. They've given little pieces of it. I know if you take
and it's all inside the Beltway. They know who they're giving it to.
I know, but Martin's saying it's going to start going to Maine press. I know if you take an opposition research dump from a source, they say you can't say where you got it from. But it seems to me this is a journalistically suspect thing, because they know who's killing the guy, and yet they're not saying it.
Yeah, but this is, again. So remember,
this is the game.
Look, we did this for 6 years when I was at the RNC. This was pretty normal. And so to your point, though, reporters know that if you want a taste, if you want a little something, you got to play the game. If you don't, great. I shop it to your competitor, and Mark Halpern gets it, and everyone goes, hey, I saw what Halpern printed in his newsletter. Can you come to me next time? And I mean, listen, I dealt with plenty of reporters, and we would say, hey, listen, you sat on it for 24 hours last time. We need to go. So this is a business. Remember.
Okay, Dan, why isn't Platner coming out and calling? He must know who's doing it, right?
Oh, I don't think so.
No.
You don't think he knows?
No.
I mean, there's only two choices.
I think he knows why it's being done, obviously.
But no, he knows it's like wouldn't he be better off? I'm asking rhetorically. I don't know.
Yeah.
Mightn't he be better off to just have a press conference and say, "I call on Janet Mills and Chuck Schumer to turn off their establishment attack dogs"? No,
Sure, of course. I mean,
but it's also
just,
like because they're exposing some of the bad things I did. I mean, it's not like they're making up stuff.
Well, but it's not like he's not. It's not like he's not talking about it.
Exposing the things that I said about blacks and Jews and sheriffs and
understood.
I also think you're getting into a process fight, and if you go to the end of the day, you're trying to get Maine voters. They're not going to worry about kind of where it's coming from. They're going to be like, dude. Really?
Yeah. But I got to tell you, this is a huge. If you are Tim Scott at the NRSC right now, you're going because it's a late primary. He's not getting out. The guy's got a boatload of cash. Sanders is sitting by him. Mills is old. She's 77 years old or whatever.
You don't.
I mean, the bottom line is those guys going at it for another year.
You don't think Platner's going to be forced out?
No.
They say that something that's easy is like a walk in the park. Well. Easier than a walk in the park, hit the subscribe button, be part of the two-way community, never miss an episode, be part of our conversations. Thank you for your service to America.
And don't forget, you can now listen to the morning meeting and Two-Way Tonight on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.